A good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the RadioWis show, the RadioWis Podcast. Sorry, it's been a while since the previous episode, but I hope you've been well all this time. My apologies for not being as consistent as I should have been in this podcast, which was supposed to be a monthly endeavor, but it's, I guess for the reasons I'd like to talk about in this episode, I have not been as, or rather, I would say I have not been taking the RadioWis episodes as seriously as I could be. I wouldn't say should be, but I could be, because there are a few of you who really look forward to these episodes, as mentioned in the comments in the previous episodes. This project was, I wouldn't call it a throwaway thing, but it's kind of like a side thing that I decided to begin as a sort of diary, a monthly diary of sorts that you, the viewer, could experience as a piece of side content that would, in the hopes that it would give the channel a sort of human connection, that it's not just some unknown entity making all these cartoons. I guess it was during a time that I wanted to leave my own personal imprint onto my work, kind of like how those story time illustrators or YouTubers, how they integrate their personal selves onto their content, which is kind of a risky thing if I'm being honest. But, I guess I wanted to pursue something similar in that sense. And also because back in late 2022, I think that was when I uploaded the first episode. I think it was late 2022. Oh, no. Maybe early 2023? I can't really remember exactly when I uploaded the first episode, but I remember that the reason why I even conceptualized this project was because at the time I had reason to believe that I had signs that were pointing to colorectal cancer. I mean, specifically speaking, there was a period of time where my bowels and were just constantly, not shedding, but there was discharge of blood for about 10 days straight. I believe it was like 10 days to like 2 weeks straight. And my family has a history of cancer, especially on the male side. So, I do believe that's like one of the indicators that there's a chance that you might get it too, especially the older you get. But that does not mean that it's something to be dismissed when you're younger. So, despite being in my late 20s then, and having personal abdominal problems, medical abdominal problems myself, I sought to get it checked, but the entire process of getting it checked took around, from start to finish, I think it was like 6 months, 6 to 8 months to get an initial appointment, to book a specialist appointment, to which the specialist appointment would ask you to return at a later date for a test, to which you got to then wait a later date to get the results. So all in all, that process took like 8 months. And so it was during those 8 months that I thought to myself, what if it is cancer? What if it is getting stronger? And what if it's growing as I wait for the results? Am I really going to wait to 8 months later or 6 months later and find out that, it's currently in the next stage? So I started, like, I guess you could call it overthinking. That, perhaps this may or may not be the final stretch. And so I started putting things into perspective as to, what if the worst case scenario was that the diagnosis came back positive, what would I have liked to have accomplished this year before things potentially get worse? Now, spoilers alert. Obviously, spoilers. It's been 3 years. It's not cancer. I mean, it's other issues, but it's not cancer. And but during that period of time, that 6 months, 6 to 8 months, to which I was going through that entire process of getting checked and waiting for results, I just thought to myself, what are the things that I wanted to do? Should this be the final stretch? And that's one of the reasons why I went to Japan for as long as I did in 2023, late 2023, to which I still have not made the vlog videos. I still have the recordings, by the way, and I've yet to make the videos of my trip then. But I digress. Yeah, it's why I went to Japan for as long as I did, because I was thinking, if this was my one and only chance to go there, I wanted to count. And then at the same time, I thought, what am I going to leave behind if it turns out that this is it? And that's when that's when I conceptualized the idea of the RadioWis Podcast. That's when I decided, if I'm going to go, I would like to be remembered, I guess. Not just through my works, but through some of the stories that I'd like to tell. Yeah. Something like that. And I had all these worries, like, shit, I'm not going to finish the MMO series in time if this is going to be the final stretch. How do I do it? I considered converting the MMO series into a novel, just strictly words, because I probably wouldn't have the time and energy to draw everything out. But I did not want to rush that decision too. I didn't want to, within those 6 to 8 months, just announce that, okay, I'm going to change the MMO series to just purely text now. I didn't want to jump the gun, but, at the same time, it was at the back of the head, It's like, well, but what if whatever it is that's gestating in my bowels gets worse? Or no? But thankfully, when the results came out, it wasn't cancer. In fact, the results were that it was just like scarring on the intestines, which led to bleeding. for the period of time that it did, but 2 weeks, really? Well, I mean, this is one hell of a scar, you know what I'm saying? But then again, I do have like personal abdominal issues that I won't get into too much detail because it's irrelevant right now. You know, I'm just the point being that was why the RadioWis show started in the first place, and you know, I wanted it to be a monthly diary of sorts because of that, because I just wanted to share as much as I can, well, not as much as I can, share what I was comfortable with as often as I can, should that be what I was able to share with. Were my time limited? Limited. Well, thankfully, you know, by God's grace, it's nothing serious. So here I am. And I'm ashamed to admit, but after I was told, Mr. Rando, it's not cancer, and I went, oh, whew, okay. And then the RadioWis episode started becoming inconsistent. Oh, no. I got lazy. Oh, no. I do believe I got the diagnosis somewhere around maybe August 2023. Like August 2023. And by then it was too late because I bought the tickets to go to Japan for like a month plus. Back in June or May or something, because I wanted the tickets to be cheap. And so I was stuck with this. Well, shit. Now I got to go to Japan for a month. And, you know, it's all for the fear. I fear-mongered myself. Oh, no. But it was a good trip. It wasn't wasted. It was fun. I got to see things I never got to see before. It was a good experience. But anyway, that's a besides the point. It's a 10-minute way to say that. Yeah, you know, this is how the RadioWis show was conceptualized, and unfortunately, even after that, I still could not be consistent with the RadioWis episode. Now, I'm not beating myself over it. It's just I'd like to be more consistent, but you know, for the past. How long? Well, for this year in particular, let's talk about this year since... let's talk about what happened from the previous episode all the way up till this episode. What happened? Well, the last episode, if I remember correctly, it was towards the end of last year, maybe October, November, I think. But I remember right after I got that episode uploaded, I was approached by Wuthering Waves well, not really Wuthering Waves, but I was approached by what do you call them? Those agencies that represent the clients, to which the clients are the video game companies. I forgot what they were called, but let's just call them the middlemen agencies. As I was approached by an agency that whose client was Wuthering Waves, and they expressed interest in wanting to work with me in creating promotional content. And you can see the promotional content. It's on the channel. I believe the first one was the Camellia one. I forgot what it was called. Something in the Night or something. I'm sorry, I can't really remember. And then ever since, they really liked the first one, and so they came back for a second one, and then a third one, and then I do believe eventually they asked me to animate like a really long one, a really big one that was a collaborative work with, I believe it was Kahoka, who was a music producer. Music artist, and Enthralpy, which is a 3D animator, and you know, this is not me patting myself on the back, but basically it's Well, no, it's going to be me. It's going to be too arrogant to say it, so it's probably not true. It was basically it was an animation that was meant for some celebratory event. I think it was called I think it was the Summerfest, if I'm not wrong. Woo-Wah Festival, I believe, was the title of the event, specifically for summer this year. And it was like I believe it was a 4-minute animation. Was it 4 or was it 3? Well, it was longer than what I normally make. It was a big project, and I was the sole animator for it. So you can imagine how much time that project probably took. The amount of effort that it probably took too. Like when I was animating for the Hollow Stars animation, I'm probably gonna get demonetized for saying this. Fuck it. I wanted to kill myself with how difficult it was because I was the sole animator, and there were so many characters to animate, so many backgrounds to do, and it was really difficult, and it's no secret by now, but there were a couple of talents that left halfway during the project, which complicated things. And not that I blame them, it's just what it is. You're working on a project halfway, and all of a sudden there are major changes that needed to be made, and so that added to the difficulty. I don't say that with malice or spite, just clarifying myself. And, I feared having to work that hard again, but, I'm not going to lie. They liked my work. I liked working with them. It was good money. I was able to feed my family with the income that we agreed on, not the income, but the income earned working for Wuthering Waves. And funnily enough, during the earlier part of the year, when I was just not constantly, but when the Wuthering Waves promotional animations were consistently being uploaded on my channel, I got so many offers from different agencies, and then they were asking, hey, we want you to animate for us too. We want you to animate for us too. And I'm there going, oh, I really want to, but I can't. I only have 2 hands, and I'm pulling my hair out right now. I'm currently working on a project already, and. But it's an opportunity for good money. Oh, I really want to say yes, but I can't. Oh. And because of that, I guess, what's the point I want to make here? Well, basically, I was busy making these animations as a freelancer rather than a content creator, and it was a good opportunity to put some food on the table. But in exchange for that, it took time away from making RadioWis content, hence the drought of not just RadioWis episodes, but RadioWis content in general. Sorry. Yeah, I can't remember. I can't really remember what were the RadioWis specific content that I made during that time. Maybe a couple of shorts. Maybe I can't. Were the shorts made in between then? Probably. And I do believe the push trigonometry animation was made in between the Wuthering Waves content. Oh, there was the under the wary animation, the running animation one. Yeah, I forgot I made that one. Yeah. But you see that's what I mean. It's just that RadioWis content has been so scarce because of the focus that I've given to these Wuthering Waves projects, which has resulted in the drought of RadioWis content. And once again, I don't say that with animosity or spite or resentment. It's like, I gotta work on these Wuthering Waves. No. I had fun working on those animations. It was a great opportunity that I'm thankful to have to be able to work with Wuthering Waves, but at a certain point, I was afraid that RadioWis as a channel would have turned into a what do you call it? An IP promotion channel rather than a content creator channel. You know, like one of those channels where it's specifically tailored to create content for this one specific entity. Be it, maybe it's a video game, maybe it's a series or something. I didn't. That's not what RadioWis was, and so I had to tell the Wuthering Waves, the agent, to forward the message to Wuthering Waves. It's like, hey, I really love working with you, and I want to work with you again. Because it's good money. But I can't keep doing this because it's going to betray the RadioWis audience, because there's just so little RadioWis audience as a result of working with you for as long as I have, and to have taken the projects subsequently one after the other. And so I'm going to have to take a break from creating promotional content. And then they were fine with it, thankfully. So Wuthering Waves, if you're listening, I love you, man. Thank you for letting me take a break and giving me the opportunity to pay the bills. And then some. It's been a really long time. The last time I had low 5 digits in my savings account from earning from being RadioWis was when was 2017? 8 years ago. 8 years ago, and we're not talking like 20,000. We're not talking the high 5 digits here. I'm talking like, oh wow, we're only 5 digits in the savings account. The last time I had something like that was in 2017, at the peak of RadioWis. Those were simpler times. And to finally be able to have a comfortable amount of savings again it was really nice to see. So once again, I'm really grateful to Wuthering Waves for helping me achieve the financial stability that I had in the beginning of the year, and maybe towards the middle as well. Thanks to the Summerfest project. I can't discuss the details, unfortunately. It's in the NDA that I signed. It's just also to basically respect the what do you call it? Like not the legalities, but the terms that would be used for negotiation by the agency and the client. It's just business secrets, I guess. It's nothing harmful, but as transparent as I'd like to be, there are some things that I just can't mention because I'm legally bounded by the NDA. So, just letting you know. I'll say what I can, but if I'm crossing the line, Wuthering Waves, just let me know in the comments if you listen. But yeah. So the what do you call it? The beginning of the year, the middle of the year. It's been busy. Not only that, for the past. Can I say this? Yeah, you know what? I'll just say it. For the past 2 years, I've been working on upgrading the streaming channel that my friends and I had, we called ourselves the Salty Geese. I'm not going to get into it, but that's basically what we were called. That's the name we decided to Christian ourselves with when we decided to attempt to go pro with streaming. I think it was in 2019. And in 2023, the viewers who watched us then were told that we would be going on a 3-month hiatus in order for me to upgrade the channel visually. You know, the idea was I wanted to create an overarching theme and vibe for the streaming channel, because I wanted us to have a more, I guess for lack of a better term, a more focused feeling, because the channel was kind of all over the place. It's kind of messy. We didn't really know what was the theme. Well, we knew the theme that we wanted. It was like city pop and vaporwave, but we just, it was just such a mess. It was just such a shit. Everything was too shitpost of a shitpost, you know. It wasn't like tastefully done. It just kind of felt like disorganized. That's the word for it. Yeah, like the theme of the channel was a little disorganized for my taste, and so I wanted to fix that. And I thought having 3 months would have been sufficient. And once again, that was in 2023. It was right before I went to that trip in Japan, right after I got my diagnosis confirmation that it wasn't cancer. And then I got lazy. Nah, I did not get lazy. It's just, when you're doing everything on your own, it takes a lot of time. It really does take a lot of time. And throughout 2024, how do I say this without sounding like I'm trying to make excuses? Throughout 2024, the earnings from RadioWis were not consistent. But I wanted to get the streaming channel assets done first, because it was the streaming channel was an endeavor that not only involved me, but my friends, you know, the boys, the guys who used to appear in the comics, you know, Mike, the guy with the glasses, Amarul, the brown guy, skinny guy with the floof, Neo, the fat one, round one, and at the time, Aloysius, who was the dude with the long hair in the comics. And so I wanted to get the channel up and running, because I felt it was my responsibility to not keep them waiting for too long. But I guess somewhere along the way last year, I got a little complacent, I guess, lost. Like I guess maybe disorganized would be the most accurate word, because in 2024 I turned 30, and I started. I guess it just randomly occurred to me. I started questioning myself and reflecting on what I wanted in 10 years, because I'm already 30. What do I want when I'm 40? Not just for myself, but for RadioWis, for the Salty Geese, which is the streaming channel, in case you forgot. What I want in 10 years for my family. What am I going to look like? Not physically speaking, but, spiritually, like in a general sense. What will be the commitments? What will be my career in 10 years? So these questions were constantly revolving around me throughout 2024, and I guess you could say it's a little late, but, if you're reaching 30 or if you're in your early 20s or even your mid 20s, it might be something that you want to consider asking yourselves. What do you want in 10 years? I think 10 years is a good gauge because it's reasonably feasible, the things you can imagine yourself pursuing. It's like if you ask yourself, well, what do you want in 25 years? It's kind of like you can only give vague answers because, in my personal opinion, you can only give vague answers because as you move forward in life, your goal changes. As you aim at certain things, you learn new things, and you gain new wisdoms, which readjust the scope to which you aim with, and because of that, the goal changes or shifts. It evolves with the knowledge and wisdoms you gain as you keep moving towards the goal. It shifts according to what you learn, what you give up. Give up as in, like the bad habits and when you learn new things and maybe some things aren't worth pursuing, things like that. And so what would you want in 10 years? It's a question I kept asking myself, and I guess I got a little disorganized, like what do I want for the MMO series? What do I want RadioWis to be remembered by? And I just didn't know. I didn't have the answer. In fact, I still don't have the answer. But I do know one thing, though, that I'd like to stream professionally with the boys, so that, perhaps that could be a side gig for them, because in the past 2 years, is it 2 years? Yeah, in the past 2 years that we've taken a hiatus, it's just my personal observation that, they enjoy streaming too, but they understood that it's not something that's going to be able to put food on the table, not at the levels of return that we get for streaming currently. It's just not feasible. It's not that we do it for the money, but if you would like the money from streaming to keep you alive, it's just not going to do it. We're going to die really quickly if that's what we put if that's the basket that we put all our eggs in. It's just gone. And so they pursue their own personal endeavors while waiting for me to finish the upgrading of the streaming channel. And, for long-time RadioWis fans, you guys know that I'm incredibly slow when it comes to creating work. And that's partly due to me being a sort of a perfectionist and a little bit stubborn. When I want things to look a certain way and I can't get it to look a certain way, I'll keep going at it until it looks that certain way, even if it's impossible for it to look a certain way. And I will resentfully use alternative methods to achieve a look that I would not be satisfied with, ultimately. But the process of getting to that point where I can say that, okay, it's done, let's move on to the next thing, that takes a while. And it is a problem that I'm trying to contend with, you know. I'm getting sidetracked here. Basically, in 10 years, I would like the Salty Geese to be something that's feasible for not just me, but for everybody. And so that's one goal that I'm working towards. The second goal would be, you know, what do I want for myself? I would like, in my personal pursuit, to have a family, start a family in 10 years. I'd like that. Hopefully I wouldn't be too old. A 40-year-old dad with a 1-year-old son, what the hell? You know, it's like, it's kind of late in my opinion, but before you can have a family, you got to be able to take care of yourself first. Not just yourself, but, you know, being a guy, you got to be able to take care of your wife first, too. You can't just, well, no woman's going to want to be with you if you can't take care of her, let alone children. You know what I'm saying? You can't be irresponsible like that. What's the matter with you? And so that was 2024. It was just a bunch of confusion, a bunch of questions, a bunch of reflection. Speaking of which, like a few months ago, I was just lying in bed, trying to get to sleep, and then like a thought just randomly came into my mind because I was talking to my family about. I was talking to one of my brothers about how, like, look, man, you're a man. At this age, you can't be behaving like a little boy, you know. You're not, 10 years ago, maybe you can give yourself that excuse, but, right now you can't. I'm not going to disclose too much information about my, the individual person, the individual information of my family, but, it was just that conversation that we were having. And then, we had a good chat. And then as I was laying in bed, and I went, wow, it's been 10 years, huh? It's a big man now. And then it came, and then I realized, oh shit! 10 years ago, I was 21. Fuck! 10 years ago, I was 21. Shit! I'm not that young anymore. It's like that felt so weird to me to say when I said it. When the revelation hit, it's like 10 years ago, you were 21. You weren't young 10 years ago. You ain't young now. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, probably still considered young, but sorry. To tell yourself that 10 years ago you were in your 20s, that means a lot to a guy that just entered his 30s. I kind of just forgot that I was in my 30s. God damn it, son. Maybe I'll talk about like why the time flew by so quickly in the next episode. Yeah, we're kind of hitting 40 minutes here. I don't want to take too much of your time. Well, this episode, I actually just wanted to discuss a few quick topics. One being what happened over the course of the previous episode to this episode. Why was there a 1 year gap between these two RadioWis episodes? And what I would like to do with the podcast moving forward. And then finally, what I would like to do. No, that ties into the second point. I'm sorry. So it's what I wanted to talk about in this episode was what happened, not what happened, but why the 1 year gap. And then what I would like to do with the RadioWis podcast moving forward. And so hopefully Hopefully, I guess it was done really poorly, but hopefully the past 40 minutes kind of explained why the podcast has been a little bit inconsistent. You know, it's just general disorganization and time being taken away. Not being taken away, but time being given away to focus on collaborations this year. Oh, I forgot to mention that there was that one collaboration I did with Colosso that, I guess an online school would be a way to describe it. You know, I created that How to Draw Faces course with them in the beginning of the year. Well, that process took like 2 months. No, 3. Was it 3? I think it was 3. And then at the same time, I was working on like the Wuthering Waves animation alongside it too. And I remember I had like a flu in the beginning of the year. Yeah. I had to delay the production of the course for a little bit because I got sick so often. I remember I got like a flu in January. In early January, which lasted like maybe a week or 2 weeks. But I was coughing so profusely that I caught a flu. And as I was recovering from the first flu, I went to a family gathering for Chinese New Year, and I caught a second flu as I was recovering. And because I had a flu because I caught 2 flus in a row, I was constantly profusely coughing for a good 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 14 to 20 days straight. And I was coughing so much, I actually sprained my ribs, like inflammation. I think that's what the doctor said. It's like you've been coughing so much that the ligaments of the ribs have been inflamed, and that's why it got hard to breathe. It got hard to talk. And that's a problem when you're creating an online course that uses your voice to teach the lessons. And so I remember the production of the Colosso course. Like they started not panic, but they got really worried. It's like, are you sure you're still able to meet the deadline? I'm like, I can do it. Just give me a few days to recover. It was really tight, but I think I managed to get it on time. But I think I kind of botched the marketing release for this. I think there was some sort of like miscommunication when it came to the actual release of the course, and I think I missed the launch by like maybe like 12 hours, maybe a day. And then there was this discount code that I was supposed to announce the launch with that I forgot to put with the announcement. And so I think nobody used the discount code because it expired by the time I was told, like, oh yeah, by the way, you did not put the discount code. And I went, oh shit. Well, there goes some money saving. Goddamn. I'm a bad businessman. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better. I'm sorry, Colosso. But yeah, that was a one and done thing. The course is still available. I think it's a lifetime course, and it's. I guess I wouldn't be lying to say that it's gonna be available on Colosso forever, unless the site shuts down. But yeah, it's still there, basically. If you're interested, you can go check it out. I believe there is a link on my main website. Okay. That's That's one place where I forgot to put a link to the Colosso course. But you can find a post. You can find the relevant posts on the main website on RadioWis.com and Twitter. That would lead you to the Colosso course. Feel free to look it up. But yeah, I'm sorry. It's a tangent, but yeah, that's one of the things that preoccupied me this year. But it was another opportunity to make some income, and I don't regret taking it. But it's just, like I said earlier in this episode, at a certain point, you can't. Well, not you can't, but I can't bring myself to keep taking on promotional content because it would be betraying the RadioWis fans who look forward to RadioWis content, because there's been a lack of RadioWis content. In fact, I think it's been completely silent this past couple of months because I've been working on the streaming channel, finalizing the streaming channel assets for the eventual return. And if you're a supporter on RadioWis.com or Pixie Fanbox, I apologize for the silence this past couple of weeks because I've been focusing on the streaming channel assets, like the finalization, getting things to work. There were some hiccups. And there were some technical things that I overlooked, which required some time to settle. And my apologies for the silence. My financial supporters. I guess you could call them the monthly investors, I guess. But yeah, that. And so that's the first point. What's been happening? And the gap that was the 1 year between the previous episode and this one. And then now I'd like to talk about what I'd like to do with the podcast moving forward. And in order to get to that, we got to talk about the unfortunate assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, if you're not familiar with who Charlie Kirk is, he was basically, I guess you would, in America, you would label the individual as a conservative. And he was somebody that I enjoyed watching his videos of. He would, set up tables at college campuses, universities, and he debate the students there as an attempt to encourage critical thinking amongst the youth, because they are the future. And I like the way how he was eloquent in his speech. I liked how he approached the individuals that he would debate with. I admired the good faith that he brought to the conversations, even towards people with bad faith. When they approached him. If anything, I wished I could talk like that, because I get a little, I get hot under the collar, as Professor Peterson would put it, really easily, and so it was nice to see somebody who was able to attempt to bring humanity together through debate and speech. Unfortunately, he got shot. I think by now, when I'm recording this, he got shot and assassinated a couple of days ago. I don't know the guy. I'm not American. Neither am I Christian. In fact, I'm Muslim. But I like the guy. I admire his principles. I like the way he approached conflict resolution. And they shot him. And, you know, it's not my place to say. Like I said, I'm not American, but I think the world lost a good man that day. He was a father of 2 young children, to a loving wife. God knows how difficult the next few months are going to be, let alone the rest of their lives. But God be with them, yeah. I don't mean to repeat this point, but once again, I am not American, so I cannot comment on your politics because it is not my place. But I would like to criticize evil when I see it. And what I'm talking about is the disgusting behavior of the people who danced, laughed, celebrated and cheered, who mocked, cackled over the grave of a man, a father, a husband, who only wanted to talk and win you over through debate, through facts, through his principles and opinions, and perhaps that was his biggest crime. I've seen bad men. So I trust myself to know when I see a good man. You know, it doesn't mean I agree with everything he says. There's, you know, the disagreements. But I can appreciate the value he brought to humanity. Such a waste for his life to be taken like that. You know, it's really unfortunate. You know, even if I'm watching from halfway around the world, you know, I can appreciate civil discourse And it was fun to see. It was fun to see. It was nice to. It's interesting to see when both sides bring good arguments, because it helps you learn. And I mean, if they wanted to silence Charlie Kirk, you did the complete opposite, in my personal opinion. In fact, I don't think it's just my personal opinion. If they wanted to silence Charlie Kirk, they royally fucked themselves over, because by shooting him in the throat, ironically, to stop him from speaking, you have embedded his message, his very being, into history, let alone the future. And I think that's the greatest irony of them all. His body may be in the ground, but his spirit is forever embedded in humanity, I guess. Such a shame. And I think it was a couple of episodes ago. I think it was during the time when okay, I remember. It was during the time when Donald Trump nearly got assassinated, and then after that, there were a bunch of people, like, they weren't celebrating then, but they were kind of pissed off that the assassin missed. And I remember saying something along the lines of, like, it's like disgusting behavior. It's vile that these people would want the assassination to be successful. And I think I made a point about, if they disagree, no. What did I say? Something about brains being blown out. These people would rather your brains be blown out than listen to you if you have a different opinion. I remember saying something like that. Lo and behold, 1 year later, the man who only wanted to talk gets shot in the neck. And you mock him, you laugh at him, you dance on his grave. Like, you can disagree with him all you want, but just witnessing such vile behavior from humans is revolting. It's unbecoming. It's unfortunate that some people have stooped to those levels of depravity. It's what I fear myself becoming were I overrun with hate. It's what I fear my family becoming should they be overrun with hate. Because we did have family that does behave exactly like that. And, we know how bad people like that can be. And it's unfortunate that these people, that this is the reality, or rather, I guess they call it the bubble, that these people think is reality, that they can get away with doing these things and get away with it. It's unfortunate. It really is. And so what does this have to do with the RadioWis podcast, you might be asking? What does this got to do with RadioWis? Now, I'm sorry, I should have made this point earlier. I don't want the channel to be political. I know that's not what RadioWis fans come here for. But I am not naive. You know, we may not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in us. That's a fact that's universal in any country. But I also want to respect how do I say this? I want to respect why you subscribed to this channel in the first place. But I would like to contribute to the spirit of sharing truth, sharing wisdoms, encouraging principles and morals, and calling out evil should it pop its head out. You know, contributing to helping individuals be the best version of themselves, and by consequence, having to be the best version of myself first. I like to contribute to that. Because that's partly what he was doing, and, you know, Charlie's no longer around us. But I'd like to contribute at least in that spirit. If not politically. Because who am I to speak about American politics? I'm not from America. Once again, I don't mean to repeat that point. But, you know, how arrogant would it be of me to speak to, "Oh, you fellow American, you must listen to my opinions about your politics despite me living in Southeast Asia." I'll get the fuck out of here. But I like to contribute where I can to us as individuals, which would contribute to a better society. Because I don't want my kids, should I ever be blessed by God to have them, I don't want them growing up in a world where dancing over your enemies' graves, cheering as they bleed out in front of you, singing and dancing over their deaths, expecting no consequence, and then believing they're right. I don't want my children growing in a world like that. I can only do so much as a content creator that makes shit posts. But I'd like to do my part if it helps you, the individual listening to this podcast. while respecting the RadioWis fan who does not want to have anything to do with who just wants an escape from all this. And so because of that, I've decided to create a secondary channel. It's called Rando the Real. You can find the link below. And moving forward, I will be uploading every RadioWis episode there because I'd like that channel, the secondary channel, to be focused on more long-form content. You know, be it the podcast episodes, if not live streams, if not eventually perhaps even real life updates, real life videos, who knows. But I'd like to separate RadioWis as the channel that has animations and short form content. Something where I can post my little animated shit posts with, in somewhere that's meant for animations and fictional content. But, I like Rando the Real to be the long-form content for RadioWis. And so if you like the podcast episodes, if you like the RadioWis podcast episodes, this will be the last one on the RadioWis channel, but this will be the first of future RadioWis episodes to which I'd like to be consistent with these monthly episodes now that I have an actual tangible purpose and reason for this podcast. Ever since I was diagnosed as cancer-free. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, Charlie Kirk getting shot it really did lit a fire up my ass about what I'm doing as a 31-year-old. Because he was 31 and he died trying to bring the world together. What am I doing? That's what really got me. I'd like to do more. But over on Rando the Real. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Tell your family you love them. And know that I love you too for helping me support my family. See you in the next episode.